Okay, welcome back to another edition of New York State of Mind, a podcast. I'm your host, Ralph Miranda. Our producer today is Nathan Miranda, and it's been a little while since we've had a podcast, and we've been meaning to do one, but I wanted to build up all my anxiety with the New York Yankees before we did one. We will do another one very soon. We'll talk a little bit about the New York Giants and their draft and their off-season activities, their OTAs. The Giants look good. I mean, they give you some rays of hope for this season, but that's not what this podcast is about. But we will be talking about the Giants some. Let's talk a little bit about the New York Yankees. I really don't know where to start with the Yankees. And I want you to know, I grew up in New York. I remember my dad used to take me to Yankee games. I remember watching Mickey Mantle play in the mid-'60s. So I'm a Yankee fan. It's not like I dislike the Yankees at all. But it's frustrating, and I think most New York fans are in the same boat that I'm in. If you listen to any of the New York radio talk shows in the city of New York, you'll probably hear the same things. And there's just a myriad of problems with the New York Yankees. It starts with the front office, and it filters its way down to the manager's seat, and then on down to the field. All we hear from the Yankees is this group gets along. This group has a chemistry. And yeah, that's great, but chemistry only goes so far. Now, am I so naive to think that, when you play 162 games that you're not going to have a slump? Sure you are. I mean, outside of the 1998 Yankees who won 114 games, or the Mariners in 2001 who won 116 games, those are special seasons. I mean, those are seasons that only happen once in a generation, where it seems like you win every single night. But most of the time, you're going to have patches of the season where you have injuries, you have slumps, the pitching goes dead. I mean, it's going to happen. And that's not the point. The point is, what does it look like when it happens? And I think that's what we're seeing with the Yankees right now. We saw it 2 years ago when they missed the playoffs. We saw it last year when they had their slump. And we're seeing it now, only now it seems to me like it's a little worse. The Yankees came out of Kansas City. They swept the Royals last week. Came out 42-25, I believe, was their record at the time. But that last game in Kansas City, they won 1-0. So the hitting was already a little bit suspect. Aaron Judge at the time was hitting .396, .397. They gave him that Thursday off. Now, you can argue whether Aaron Judge needs a day off or not. I don't think he does. Rumors were that he didn't want the day off. And that's the beauty of the designated hitter, isn't it? I mean, Giancarlo Stanton was not back yet. You could have easily put Stanton or Judge in the designated hitter spot, which they've done before, and give him the night off, essentially. But no, they gave him the night off. Yankees go to Boston, and they get swept in Fenway Park. In fact, they've lost 5 out of 6 to the Red Sox so far. They lost 2 out of 3 at home the weekend before that, 3 in Boston. Since that night off in Kansas City, which was, June the 12th, Aaron Judge has lost 30 points on his batting average. He's 2 for 27 with like 15 or 16 strikeouts. So he's not hitting. Again, let's talk a little bit about Aaron Judge before we go any further. I watch most of the games on the MLB package through the Yes Network. And I know the Yes Network is the Yankees Entertainment and Sports Network, okay? So they're not going to say anything bad about the Yankees. I understand that. They may say but let's call it like it is. I mean, all I hear is how Judge is compared to Ruth and Gehrig and Mickey Mantle. He hit a couple home runs one night about a week and a half ago. May have been that one of those Red Sox games. I don't remember when that was out of hand. And all of a sudden, he's got 43 multi-home run games, tied with Mickey Mantle. Let's say it right now. Aaron Judge is not Mickey Mantle. Aaron Judge cannot hold the jockstrap of Mickey Mantle, Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, Yogi Berra. I'm sorry, he cannot do it, okay? For a lot of reasons. One, he hasn't done anything in the postseason yet. That's number one. And two, a Mickey Mantle or a Lou Gehrig or a Babe Ruth or a Joe DiMaggio or a Yogi Berra does not strike out 3 times in a game, 3 games in a row, or strike out 16 times when he goes through his slump. It's one thing to go through a slump, to be 2 for 27, but you don't strike out 15 times in that slump. You may hit some weak ground balls. You may fly out to the outfield, things of that nature. The hits are not dropping. You're not making good contact. But when you strike out and he's starting to chase pitches again, now, part of that is because he's the only hitter they got. So I guess subconsciously, Aaron Judge feels like if he doesn't get it done, nobody else is. So that forces him to push and stretch a little bit, to press a little bit. So great hitter, the pride of the Yankees right now. But let's stop the talk of Aaron Judge doing things that only we've seen Ruth and Gehrig and Mantle do. I don't want to hear that anymore, okay? He's just not there. And then you took at the rest of the team. I mean, they're in a slump, yeah. But they went 28 innings. I think I've got that right. 28 or 29 innings without scoring a run. I mean, that's kind of unheard of. And not only that, I mean, the base running is pitiful. I mean, this is a Major League Baseball team that went through spring training. Ben Rice got picked off in one of the Red Sox games that probably cost them a run in that game. Dominguez was on second base. He got about 7, 8, 9 feet off the base. And the batter, I think it was Grisham, I'm not sure, it doesn't matter. They called a strike on him. It was strike 2 with 2 outs. Dominguez thought it was strike 3. So he just stood there. Of course, the Red Sox catcher threw it to second base and they got him out. I mean, you can't make those kind of mistakes. You can't make mental errors when you're a professional baseball team, okay? And I don't want to hear that those things happen in baseball. Yeah, they do, at the little league level or the college level or the high school level, but you're making millions and millions of dollars. All you do every day is eat, drink, sleep, and live baseball. Mental errors should not happen, period. And you're getting picked off first base. They can't hit with runners in scoring position. They can't move runners over. The other night against the Angels, runners on first and second, nobody out, okay? This was in the extra inning game, I believe. Nobody out. Grisham comes up, tries to bunt. First bunt, foul bunt. Not a bad bunt, but it went foul. Couple balls after that, 2-1. They take the bunt signal off. What does Grisham do? He pops out to the catcher. So now you got 1 out and a runner on first and second, and Aaron Judge up. So our wonderful yes announcers, you know what their comment was? Well, they probably took the bunt signal off for good reason, because had he bunted those runners over, Washington, the manager of the Angels, would have walked Aaron Judge. What? Okay, he might have, but would you walk Aaron Judge and load the bases with 1 out? And now the tying run or is on third base? No, you're not going to do that. You might, but it gives you a pretty good situation if that happens, right? So you move those runners over. And of course, after he did that, we had Judge fly out, and then we had Volpe with his usual strikeout. It doesn't make much sense. They can't. The other night, I think it was the first night against the Angels, in the extra innings, they had a runner on second, nobody out. LeMahieu, he can't bunt. I mean, he just cannot bunt. 2 foul bunts and a strikeout. These are errors that should not be made by a professional baseball team. It's one thing to be in a slump. And let me say this also. These are not things that are just occurring now in the slump. These are things that have happened all season long. The difference is that the Yankees have counted on the home run all season long, and these things were masked. When you're ahead 10-3, making an error or getting picked off base doesn't look so bad. But when you're in a slump and you haven't scored a run in 29 games, then it looks pretty bad, okay? And the Yankees, how do you come out of spring training with the roster that they have? Tell me about that. How does that happen? Pablo Reyes, the guy can hit, okay? He shouldn't be in the major leagues. Well, Pablo Reyes was designated for assignment when they brought Stanton back. That was a smart move, but he should have never came out of spring training with the Yankees. Oswaldo Cabrera, good kid. Everybody talks about how they love him, and I'm sure he's just a wonderful human being, but he can't hit. He broke his ankle, unfortunately for him, but he cannot hit, all right? And he's not that great of a defender to overcome that. And neither was Pablo Reyes. Peraza, he's the guy now that plays third or plays second, okay? Now let's say, what is Peraza hitting right now? All right, let's take a look at that real quickly. I would imagine he's not doing real well. He's hitting 157 right now, okay? He can't hit either. Strikes out, pops up, plays a pretty good third base when he plays it. Okay, now they got Chisholm at third base. Let's talk a little bit about that. Chisholm's playing second base. Before Cabrera got hurt, he was playing third. Chisholm was playing second, which is more his natural position. Well, Chisholm gets hurt, okay? So now they got to bring up Yorgi Vivas, okay, from the minor leagues. And he's a rookie, okay? He did a pretty good job. He couldn't hit very well, but he's a rookie. He was a fill-in, all right? And then when Chisholm comes back, it happened that LeMahieu was back. They moved Chisholm to third. They need a third baseman. Chisholm can't play third. He swipes at balls. He's out of position occasionally. He just cannot. It's not his position, all right? And Chisholm can't hit either. You know what the problem with Chisholm is? I can tell you right now what his problem is. Look at his home runs. Chisholm, where am I here? Jazz Chisholm has hit 10 home runs. I believe 11 now after last night. That's his problem. He's swinging for the fences. You know what his batting average is? It's .223. You know how many strikeouts he's got? 50 strikeouts. You know how many at-bats he's got? 148. So he strikes out 30% of the times he comes to the plate. But he's swinging for the fences. And every once in a while, he'll hit one. And boy, it looks great. But that's not how you play baseball, okay? Austin Wells, good catcher. He's had 203 at-bats. He struck out 58 times, 25% of the time. You know what he's batting? .217. He's got the same swing Chisholm does. It's a loopy swing, okay? If you connect properly, which he's done on a couple of occasions because he has 11 home runs, he hits a pretty majestic home run to right field because he's left-handed just like Chisholm. But if you don't, if that bat doesn't get to the right point in the zone, not going to happen, okay? Now, Bellinger's the same problem. Bellinger's a little better hitter, okay? Bellinger has the ability to, when he gets 2 strikes, he adjusts his swing. He gets into 2-strike mode, and he starts to slap balls and try to go the opposite field, which is what you got to do. I mean, that's what a good hitter does. He's got 10 or 11 now after last night. He struck out 43 times in 251 at-bats. So a little bit better. And he's hitting .251. Only reason he's hitting .251 is because since about mid-April, he's hit over 300. He started out pretty badly. So let's look at the Yankees' batting averages for a minute. Okay. I'm not going to talk about Giancarlo Stanton's hitting .444, but he's only had 9 at-bats. Okay, so that's going to change quite a bit. But Aaron Judge, obviously the leader at .366. As I said, his batting average has come down 30 points in the last 2 weeks, okay? Goldschmidt's hitting .300. You know what he was hitting back in mid-April? .350, all right? He's cooled off completely. Bellinger, I just talked about him. LeMahieu's hitting .244. DJ LeMahieu, he's done, okay? I mean, I love the guy. He was a batting champion in Colorado. He was a batting champion in New York. I think he's one of only 2 men maybe to win the batting title in both leagues. Tremendous athlete and hitter. But unfortunately, Father Time has caught up with him. Too many injuries. He can't move very well at second base anymore. He's done. And I think the Yankees have been playing him to see what they've got before the trade deadline. But if they keep him there and pass the trade deadline without getting a third baseman, then the front office is more inept than I thought it was. Nathan, I've talked a lot there. What is there anything I've said that stands out to you as being crazy, or what do you think?
No, not at all. You're obviously a lot closer to the Yankees than I am. I mean, I catch a little bit of their games. You watch every game essentially every night, and I catch a little bit of it in the background, but I'm not as informed as you are. But everything seems to be. Everything you say seems to be right. I'm pretty big on the fact that they have a horrible defense, and they need to fix that in the field. Judge can't field at all. I mean, they're not paying him to field. That's fine, but he's a little bit of a liability. Volpe seems to have a problem with errors at short. They have no third baseman, like you said. I also don't know why they keep changing their batting order. Like, I feel like teams historically would have, like, they would have pretty much a set batting order. I mean, if a guy has a day off or something, or you maybe put a guy in a DH spot, maybe he moves around, but typically you could run through some of these historically great teams and you could just name their batting order. Mm-hmm. I feel like every night I happen to glance up, the Yankees have a different guy leading off. And they're moving people around constantly. I don't really get that. But and then as far as one thing I want to know, as far as that Angels walking Judge, the tie run would have been on third if they would have bunted anyways. So they're not putting the tie run on third by walking Judge. First base is open. Now it forces any bag. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, but my point is my point was that the comment by the Yes guys was that the reason they took the bunt off was so that they wouldn't walk Judge. Okay, so but the point is, if you bunt, let's say they walk Judge, you still got a runner on third with one out. Okay, let's say you bunt, or let's say you don't bunt. Now you had runners on first and second with one out, right? They can still walk Judge if they want to. Same situation, just because first base isn't open. So you didn't gain anything, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Whether first base is open or not, they walk Judge. The tie runs on third.
And the way Judge is hitting right now, granted, he's a threat. He's a threat always, but he's not really hitting very well now. So you pitch to him. I'd pitch to him. But anyway, that's the answer to that. And your point about the lineup is really well taken. I mean, that tells me a couple things. It tells me that they don't really know what they've got. I mean, that's the problem. They don't have anybody that they can settle in on because nobody can hit. I mean, like I just went through to you. If you look at the Yankees batting right now, okay, or let's look at their statistics. In home runs, the Yankees are second in the major leagues in home runs. Well, big deal. But if it's not for the home run, the Yankees can't score. And you look at their batting averages. Like I said, after Goldschmidt at 300, Bellinger 251, nobody's hitting. Let's look at Anthony Volpe. He's hitting 235. Okay. Now there's another guy. He's hit 8 home runs. Okay, but he's hitting 235. He's made 9 errors. That's third highest in the major leagues for shortstops. You just can't do that. You just can't do that. And he's another one who's got a loopy swing. And I guess that just really bothers me. And then let's take a look a little bit about their pitching. I mean, that's another thing that we've got to talk about here. The pitching on the whole has been better than I've expected. I mean, Max Fried has been everything that they paid for. I mean, especially with Garrett Cole going down. Max Fried is obviously the ace of this staff. He's 9-2. He struck out 90 batters. He's only walked 20. His ERA is 1.89. His whip, now whip, for those of you who may not know, is walks and hits per inning pitched. So if it's less than 1, that's pretty good. That means that you're giving up less than 1 walk or hit every inning. And his is 0.95, which is fantastic. Carlos Rodon. I mean, here's a guy that 2 years ago when the Yankees got him as a free agent from the White Sox, he was horrible. Not only was he horrible on the mound, he was horrible attitude-wise. The fans hated him. Last year, he was a little better. This year, he's turned it around completely. He's developed a couple other pitches that he's using. He's 8-5 right now. He struck out 107 batters. He leads the team in strikeouts. And his whip is 0.99. So those two guys have been everything that you would want right now, okay? Will Warren, the rookie, I mean, he's been pretty good. He's had a couple bad outings, but lately he's shown some brilliance for a rookie. He's got a really live fastball. He struck out 90 batters. His whip is 1.33. He's walked 29. He had a great outing the other night that the Yankees wasted in a 1-0 loss to a 4-0 loss to the Angels, but he held them to 1 run in his time in there. Clark Schmidt, same thing. Monday night, held the Angels to 1 run, or no runs, lost the game, or no decision, but the Yankees lost the game. Schmidt hasn't been as good as the others. He was hurt to start the season, came back. His whip is 1.15, which is not bad. He struck out 60 guys. So not too bad. And then you look at Ryan Yarbrough. He's more of a long reliever, but they've used him as a 5th starter. He throws 84, 85 miles an hour. He's left-handed. But he moves the ball around. He's kind of a junker, but he's a deceptive junker. The Dodgers lit him up, but outside of that, he's pitched pretty well for what they ask him to do. and they ask him to go 5 innings, 6 innings maybe, and he's done that. Okay, so not bad. Well, now then we had Luis Gil, last year's Rookie of the Year. He's been hurt. We haven't seen him yet. Marcus Stroman got hurt early April. They don't need to bring him back. He's done. I mean, the Giants lit him up in one of those first series. He's become a junker too, and that's another thing with a lot of these Yankee pitchers outside of the ones who've got good control right now, which is Fried, Rodon, and Warren to a degree, and Schmidt to a degree. But outside of those guys, these guys that like to throw a lot of sliders and junkers, you got to control it. You got to hit spots. And if you're not hitting spots, you're going to walk a lot of batters. And then when you get behind in the count, you got to put the ball somewhere over the plate, and good hitters are going to hit it. So now, outside of Luis Gil, they're hoping to get him back as soon as possible. Okay, he's a guy they really need back in there. And of course, Garrett Cole won't be back until next July, probably after getting Tommy John. But let's look at their bullpen. Well, and another thing, before I digress, so many things to talk about. I just can't think of them all. Let's digress. Coming out of spring training, we talked about Pablo Reyes, right? And that how I don't understand how he was on the roster. Excuse me. Let's look at Carlos Carrasco. He came out of spring training on the Yankees pitching roster. Guy's almost 40 years old. He's horrible. I mean, he had a couple outings where he lasted 4 or 5, but they designated him for assignment too. You know what his whip was? Walks per hits per inning pitch? 1.53. Okay? I mean, how does he come out of spring? And I know you had pitching problems and injuries, but he's your answer for that extra guy? The Yankees have more money than any team in baseball, all right? The Red Sox have spent a lot of money. The Dodgers have spent a lot of money, most of it deferred. The Yankees all of a sudden are afraid to spend money? What is it? The luxury tax bothers them? They're a multi-billion-dollar franchise, okay? You couldn't get a pitcher better than Carlos Carrasco to come out of spring training? And how about third base? We talked about that problem before, okay? You had Nolan Arenado. They could have traded for him. You had Bregman from the Astros. Now, first thing people are going to say is, hate the Astros, hate Bregman. Agree 100%. But when we're talking winning or losing, would you rather have Oswaldo Cabrera at third base hitting 150 or 160 before he got hurt? Oswaldo Peraza at third base hitting 151? Jazz Chisholm at third base, which is not his position? Or would you rather have Bregman at third base hitting 290, okay, with the chance to hit home runs and a good third baseman? Or Nolan Arenado? But no, the Yankees didn't want to do that. Now, if they go out before the trade deadline here in July and they get a third baseman, that's good, but you'd have to give more people up to get one. You could have signed Bregman without giving anybody up. You would have had to trade for Arenado, but I bet you they'd have to give up more for Arenado now because why? Because the Cardinals know they need a third baseman worse now than they did in spring training. So it's all timing. And Cashman, he's done, okay? Cashman he's still living off the 96 to 2001 Yankees when they won 4 World Series. Everybody thinks he's great because of the guys they brought, but that's over, okay? What have the Yankees done since then? 1 World Championship, okay? And then the World Series last year was the first time in 15 years they had been to a World Series. So he's done, okay? I'm sorry. So let's go back to the pitching. Let's look at the bullpen, okay? Fernando Cruz, live slider, okay? Live slider. But he overthrows it a lot in the dirt, bounces it in the dirt. Last night, he comes on with runners on first and second, 1 out. Throws a slider, a 55-foot slider that bounces in front of Ben Rice, who's catching, and it gets away from him. Runners move to second and third, takes away the double play. And he walked the bases loaded last night. He walked 3 guys. How do you do that? You can't walk 3 guys in a pressure situation in the 8th inning. You just can't do it. And that's what led to Volpe's error, which let that go-ahead run come home. Ian Hamilton. I mean, good kid. He turned 30 years old Monday. I've seen 1 good outing of his. And like Nathan said, I've watched just about every Yankee game this year. In fact, I have watched every game, most of them the whole way through, a lot of them enough to see when I wanted to turn it off. Ian Hamilton's had 1 or 2 good outings. But the guy's 1.26 whip. He struck out 28 batters and walked 15. He just doesn't have it, okay? Let's look at this guy, De Santos, okay? Yerry De Los Santos. You know what his whip is? His whip is 1.70. That means every inning he's giving up at least 2 walks and hits. Now, that's not each one, but walks and hits, almost 2 per inning. And he's the guy you bring in a pressure situation? I don't get it. Let's look at Mark Leiter Jr., all right? He's considered one of their better relievers. His whip is 1.45. He struck out 42 guys. He's walked 9. That's not too bad. Not a bad pitcher, but again, he's not consistent, okay? Now, Luke Weaver was their closer. Luke Weaver was lights out. He's hurt, all right? How does he get hurt? How do you pull your hamstring? I mean, not even pitching. I don't think he did it pitching. He did it warming up. But that's beside the point. So let's go back to that situation. They traded for Devin Williams, okay? Remember, last year, Clay Holmes was their closer. He didn't do a good job. They moved Luke Weaver into the closer role late in the summer. He was fantastic. He was great in the playoffs, all right? So he came out of spring training as their closer. Now, why would you go trade for Devin Williams when you've got a closer, all right? Well, you might say, well, your thinking was we're going to move Luke Weaver to the setup guy and Devin Williams to the closer. Somewhat, and don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing now, but somewhat to 1996 when Wetland was the closer for the Yankees and Mariano Rivera was the setup man. It was perfect, right? Rivera would pitch the 8th, Wetland would pitch the 9th. Yankees won the World Series that year. Wetland signs a free agent contract with Texas. Rivera moves into the closer role, and as they say, the rest is history, okay? So maybe that was their thinking. But guess what? Devin Williams can't pitch in New York. He was a pretty good closer for Milwaukee, real good closer. But you know something? He blew up in the playoffs. The Brewers lost to the Mets in the playoffs last year. Guess who gave up the winning home run? Williams. His last 2 games with the Brewers were not very good in a pressure situation. Now you come to New York, and whether you believe this or not everybody can play in New York, all right? You can be a great player somewhere else, but when you come to New York, it's totally different, all right? If you're playing in Cincinnati or San Francisco, okay, or Texas, after a game, you might have three or four beat writers or press guys at your locker. In New York, you're going to have 8 or 9 guys, okay? And they're going to be pressuring you night in, night out with sharp questions as to why. Some guys can't handle the pressure of New York. And Williams, it looks like, can't. He was so bad as the closer that they had to move him out of the closer role and put Weaver back into it, all right? And Weaver did a good job. Well, guess what? Now Williams has to close again until Weaver gets back. He's been a little better, but he's not been closer material. Still, 1.33 whip, all right? That's not very good for a closer. So you've got problems all across the lineup, and a lot of these are manager or front office decisions to bring these guys in. Okay, and I'm not even going to get into Aaron Boone. All right, a lot of people get on Aaron Boone. I don't think he's a good manager, but you know something? It's not his fault. You know why it's not his fault? Because he's a puppet. All right, he's been the manager of the Yankees now, I think, since 2017, roughly. Maybe it was 18 was his first year, but a long time. If George Steinbrenner, the dad, was still here, Boone wouldn't have been manager more than a year or 2. I guarantee you. But baseball has changed now. Why do you not see guys like Girardi managing anymore, or guys like Sparky Anderson was, guys like the Pittsburgh Pirates manager, which I can't think of his name off the top of my head, Leland. Thank you. Because those guys were like, if the general manager came into the office and said, I want you to hit this guy tonight or bat this guy tonight in 5th spot, those guys would take a drag of their cigarette and say, screw you, get the hell out of my office, okay? Because they were managers. They were tough guys. They were going to do it their way. Well, you know what the system's like now? Every team has these type of managers. They're puppets. The general manager, based on analytics, tells them what to do, okay? You need to bat this guy here tonight. You need to pitch this guy tonight, bring this guy in this situation, all based on analytics, okay? Well, the manager is a puppet, okay? He's just doing what they tell him to do. So I don't blame Boone so much for that, okay? He might make a couple bad decisions here and there based on when to hit and run or who to bring in some situation, which again, I think is dictated to him. But whether to call off a bunt or keep the bunt on, but most of the time, he's being told what to do, okay? He doesn't do himself many favors by his post-game press conferences with some of the things he says, but that's beside the point, okay? That's beside the point. And I think the real story on Boone, which was kind of the telling story, was they asked Jazz Chisholm what he thought of Aaron Boone as a manager. Jazz Chisholm hesitated for a while and said, he's a good friend. We're good friends. Okay. Do you want to be good friends with your players, or do you want them to respect you as a manager? So Chisholm took the high road and said, in his mind, if I can't say anything good about him, I'm not going to say much at all right? So, it's a zoo. The Yankees are a zoo right now. And, yeah, they're 42-31. They were 8.5 games up in their division. Now they're down to 1.5 game lead over the Rays. They're probably going to win the division because these other teams are not good enough, are not even as good as the Yankees. But they're not going to get to the World Series, all right? They may win a first-round playoff game or playoff series if it's not the Astros. And the Astros are leading the West, and somehow the Astros seem to have the Yankees' number, okay? But if it's not the Astros, they may win a first-round series, but they'll probably lose in the ALCS. They may not even win a first-round series, but they'll make the playoffs, okay? But they're just not very good, okay? And the front office, I want to talk about one other thing with regard to the front office that I don't really understand. This came up last weekend when they were in Boston. The Yankees, there was a guy that was catching for Boston. His name is Carlos Narváez, okay? He was a Yankee, all right? He was on the Yankees roster on their minor league system for a while. He was with the Yankees last year. Didn't do much. Of course, didn't get to play much. So the Yankees released him, okay? And the Red Sox signed him. Well, now for the Red Sox, he's gets 6 home runs. He's hitting .277. He basically beat the Yankees in one of those games, hit, I think, a home run to win the game, hit one off the wall. I mean, he's a good catcher. He's a good player. Aaron Judge even said about him, he outworked everybody in the Yankees locker room, okay? Well, guess who the Yankees came out of spring training with as their backup catcher? J.C. Escarra, okay? Now, good kid. I mean, the story, it's a wonderful story. I mean, an absolute wonderful story. He was an Uber driver. I mean, this is Escarra's, this is his, he started in 2014, played with Florida International, played summer ball. In 2017, he was with the Orioles minor league system. He was with Kansas City's minor league system. He bounced around quite a bit, okay? Then he went to some independent leagues. So from about 2017 to now, 8 years, he bounced around playing independent ball in the minor leagues a little bit, was an Uber driver to make money. Finally, the Yankees give him a shot, and they come out of spring training with him on their roster, okay? J.C. Escarra. Now, just a tremendous story. But let's take a look at J.C. Escarra's stat line here for a minute, okay? He has played in 29 games. He's had 62 at-bats, 14 hits. He's hit 1 home run, okay? He's got 6 RBIs, and he's hitting .226. Guess who caught last night for the Yankees? Ben Rice. Ben Rice was a catcher in the minor league system. So that's how much they thought about Escarra now, that instead of putting him in there to give Wells a night off like they had been doing, they put Ben Rice in there because of why? Because guess which player gets hurt the most by Stanton coming back? Well, it's Ben Rice, because he was designated hitting for a while. He was filling in at first base. But if you want to keep his bat in the lineup, which Ben Rice was pretty hot for a while, but he's cooled down as well. I mean, he's hit 12 home runs, but he's hitting .228 now. He's cooled down, but his bat was pretty hot. Well, the only reason you're going to keep him in the lineup, he's got to play other positions. Catcher, which is his position. So why did you come out of spring training with a scar when you could have had Carlos Narváez on your team, okay, who would have been a much better backup catcher with better hitting, better defense, all around better choice to be your backup catcher. Now, you can say, well, they traded for a pitching prospect. And, they actually got lucky on that deal, okay? Because they traded, I said that they released Narváez, but they traded him to the Red Sox. They traded him to the Red Sox for a pitcher prospect, Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, okay? The kid now is in Hudson Valley, which is the Yankees' high A team. He's 5-2. His ERA is 2.59. He has given up 41 hits, 28 walks, and 78 strikeouts, all right, which is pretty good. He has a pretty good fastball. Sometimes he can get it to 97, 98. He's got a good two-seamer that will run into right-handers, which is what you want. He's got a pretty good slider, okay? So it looks pretty good that he will probably make the big leagues at some point, barring injury, all right? Which, again, is a big if with pitchers these days, right? I mean, Tommy John seems to be right around the corner for these guys. But maybe he makes it to the big leagues. But here's the point, okay? The point is he's in high A right now. Pitchers, outside of Paul Skeens, pitchers don't just jump to the big leagues within a year or half a year, okay? It takes some time. And I guarantee you that this kid probably won't be in the big leagues before late next year, maybe 2027, all right? You could have had Narváez playing for you now, all right? So my point is, are you trying to win now, or are you trying to take bets on the future? To me, the Yankees have always been a win-now franchise. I mean, look at the George Steinbrenner, the father, okay? You can look up and down Baseball Reference, okay? And we look at it a lot because we play that immaculate grid game, okay? So we like to talk baseball. We look at it. Look and see sometime how many guys, and I'm going back from the 70s all the way to the early 2000s. Most everybody played for the Yankees at some point in time. Because George Steinbrenner, if you were good, he was going to get you, okay? If you beat him, he was going to go get you and bring you to the Yankees. And that's what the Yankees did. They may not have played forever, maybe 3-4 years or a couple years here or there, but they contributed to the Yankees. So you can see guys that have had stints with the Yankees all over the major leagues back in that time period. And what did the Yankees do consequently? 2 World Series in the 70s, 4 World Series in the late 90s, early 2000s. The Yankee dynasty was back. But now it's nothing more than a money-making machine. It's a profit center. That's all it is. And I'm just down on the Yankees completely. Now, we'll see what happens, okay? And as I said to start this podcast, they'll come out of this slump, and they'll start hitting again. And some of these problems will be masked, okay? The Yankees will probably win a game 12-2. They'll get a guy picked off first base. Volpe will make a couple errors, but nobody will be talking about that because it's 12-2, all right? And like I said, they'll probably win the division. They'll definitely make the playoffs. But mark my word today, they won't get out of the American League Championship Series. They may not even get out of the Division Series, okay? Because this Yankee team is just not very good. And unless they go get a solid third baseman, all right, and if they get a solid third baseman, they need to move Chisholm back to second, okay? Now, I'm going to even say right now they should have never let Gleyber Torres leave. Everybody got down on Gleyber Torres because he kind of fell off a little bit. But, he played pretty well the last part of last season. And in the postseason, he had some really good at-bats as a leadoff hitter, all right? He's the guy that should be there leading off and playing second base right now. But Chisholm, I don't see what they see in him, okay? But that's beside the point, all right? So that's my stats, or that's my take on the Yankees right now. We'll see how they do coming back. Nathan, any final words on your part or anything that all right, so New York State of Mind, hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any comments, let us know what they are, and we'll get back to you next time on the New York State of Mind.